game. So it's just, yeah. I'm also making sure that right now YouTube is live. It says I'm live. Okay. So the screen will be black for now until I can figure out what's wrong with the game. Because the game was working yesterday. I had to download it for the first time. Where's my desktop audio? Okay, desktop audio is muted. Good. Um, so yeah, we'll see who shows up. But demo 401, opening that. So basically, so I've done this live stream before. I do it like once every couple of months, and basically it's a simulator of Titanic. You can just roam through the whole ship and stuff. It's really cool. Um, why isn't it opening now? And so the latest version was released like a month or two ago, and I never downloaded the latest version. So I just did yesterday. I didn't get to play it, but I did start the game so I could make sure it was working. And before the stream today, it just did not want to work, so we'll see. I don't know what was going on with it. Let me get to YouTube on my phone so that I can see what you guys are saying in the chat. Okay, well that started a lot faster, so I think that worked. Where's my channel? Add. Skip. All right, so hello Kevin, hello Mark, hello Messi, hello Daniel, Bobby Lim, Evan. Good to see you all. So let's see if I can put this on screen now. Well, first I gotta make sure it's not gonna like slow down. It still is. It's still acting weird. All right. Well, I'll just have to do that. I don't know why. It was working just fine yesterday. All right. There's OBS. So let's go ahead and make this game visible. Where is the thing? Okay. Undo that. There we go. Ah, there we are. All right. So you can see the inside. We are on B deck in first class. And you might even hear music. Did I turn on the music? Let me check OBS. I don't know if the music will give me like a copyright strike or something, but all right. Yeah, so as you can see, like if I move, it's kind of delayed. Well, I mean, you won't know that it's delayed, but it kind of has like a low frame rate, which is really weird because it wasn't doing this yesterday. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what went wrong. Sorry, this is my window blinds. It's kind of a windy day outside. The quality looks really high, and I lowered the quality settings of the game so that way it will run smoother. Because I had it on full high settings yesterday, and I wandered through this little lobby to make sure it was working. And the settings were fine. At like the very high level. And I lowered it down to medium today, and it's still doing this. So that's really weird. Well, now it's smoothing out. What was that? Why did it do that then? Whatever. Okay. So let's go ahead and yes, hello everyone. Let's go ahead and head down to see, it gets really, the frame rate drops on that level in that area. And here too. It must be like when I'm like in an area that has a lot of detail or something, it probably slows way down. Well, we'll see, because we're about to enter the dining room. And if it gets really, if the frame rate really drops, then we'll know for sure. It's not as bad as it was on that other level. Okay, now it's getting... Yeah, definitely. The frame rate totally dropped when I came in here. But yeah, and everything's delayed. Sorry, I'm just upset because, like, you know, like, I like to plan things out. I like to make sure things work before I do these live streams, and everything was working fine until I started the stream, and then and I kept restarting the game, and it just doesn't want to work. So, and it was working fine yesterday. It's weird. All right, so there's only 12 people here. That's surprising. Usually there's like 50 people that show up to these streams. Then again, I usually do them on a Saturday. Yeah. But anyway, for folks who are watching now or who will be watching after the stream is over, this is basically just a walkthrough of Titanic, essentially, just for your enjoyment. And I'll try to, like, take moments where I just kind of let the screen pause so you guys can see things more clearly. It doesn't look so bad on YouTube. On my screen, it looks just terrible. Like, when I start moving, everything gets, like, lines through it. It's really weird. But on YouTube, it looks fine. Yeah, so for those that don't know, I am not a Titanic expert. I know my channel is called Alex the Historian, but that doesn't mean I know everything on the planet. So, if I have any expertise at all, it would be in the RMS Queen Mary. That is where most of my knowledge about ships lies. So if you hear me comparing a lot of things to the Queen Mary, then that's why. But I otherwise am no Titanic expert whatsoever. What I know about the Titanic is essentially little more than what is shown in the James Cameron movie, and maybe in what are in some, like, you know, coffee table books or something. Nothing too detailed. So what I really like is these carvings. So this is demo 401. This is kind of like a preview. It's not necessarily a demo to something that's, well, I mean, I guess let's just simplify it. This is the demo to what is going to be a very detailed simulator where you'll be able to roam through 100% of Titanic, and everything will be recreated. What's the word I'm looking for? Just with a lot of detail, more than what you see here. If what you see here looks cool to you and you're like, hey, that's a really detailed interior, the one that they're building is going to be a lot more detailed than this. And all of it was done by using photographs, the existing photographs of Titanic and its sister ship Olympic, and some information from Britannic. They also have the crew that built this game. They have all sorts of things, technical drawings, design drawings, engineering drawings of Titanic. And they were able to take the best of what they knew and put it into this simulator. And anything that is no longer any documentation of things that is no longer in existence, they would use other White Star Line ships from the time to help kind of fill in the gaps of whatever is, let's say, you know, missing. You know, so for instance, if for some reason they didn't know, they knew there was a cabinet here, but they didn't know, you know, what the cabinet looked like. They would look at other White Star Line ships at the time to see what kind of cabinetry they had in order to put that in here. So that's kind of how they would fill in the blanks. But we're about to head into the swimming pool. So this is the pool room. Mark wants me to go to the second class dining room. Okay. Daniel says, glad to have power finally here in Jamaica. Hurricane no bueno. Yeah, oh my gosh, I hope everybody's doing okay. I heard it was just a crazy hurricane. So yeah. Let's go ahead and go into the pool. And if we can kind of go underwater. Yeah, the frame rate is fine here. So anyway, this demo is free to own. So there is a link in the description of this video where you can get this demo. And you can also see the specs of my computer, so you know whether or not your computer can actually run this. But yeah, it's really fun. I enjoyed it. This is the latest version of this game, and I've never seen the latest version. So this to me is a little bit new, but I do know my way around because I've been playing the previous versions of this demo. This is the Turkish baths, one of the rooms in the Turkish baths. Future United States President says, can you go to the bridge? Absolutely. We'll also have to go to the second class dining room. That's another request I had. Here's another room back here. So on the left is the wet room, on the right is the dry room. Basically, they're heated rooms. They're like saunas, kind of. Except one is humid and one is dry. And then this is a cooling room, so you come out here to cool down. And then these two rooms are the hydrotherapy rooms. My knowledge about the hydrotherapy is very limited. So all I know is they sprayed you down with water, basically. This is the electric bath. Looks like they took out the creepy mannequin guy that they had laying in there, and they brightened the color of the green to like a mint green. Interesting. Can you look inside now? It's just an empty cavity now. But the electric baths were basically, if you can imagine like a sun tanning bed, or a tanning bed, I guess they call it, and there's all kinds of light bulbs in there. This is basically that. You lower yourself into this thing, and it's full of electric light bulbs, except they're not designed to give you a tan. It's just light bulbs. It's just lights. You know, electricity back in Titanic's time was still considered somewhat of a miracle technology, and so people thought it had all these health benefits, or at least that's what they were told. Hey Joe. Yeah, I haven't been able to do tea times because we've been going through a major heat wave. We just finished, the Portland area just finished going through this massive heat dome, and everything got to like, I mean, one day it was like 105 degrees, and that's weird for this area. That's unusual. You know, the Portland area is a forest. You know, it's literally a forest. So having weather that hot and that dry is definitely unusual. And so it was just, you know, I heard like 8 people died. It was really crazy. Wasn't as bad as 2020 though. That's when we had 115 degree weather. But let's go up the stairs again. But yeah, the temperature has just been so hot that I've just been hanging out in my living room where I have a portable air conditioner. We don't have, like, not a lot of buildings in the Pacific Northwest have air conditioning, except for, like, commercial buildings, but homes don't. Because mostly what we worry about up here is the cold. So, you know, the exterior walls of the houses are like a foot thick or even thicker to insulate them from the cold and keep the heat in. So when you have, you know, really hot weather like we just had, it keeps all that heat in like an oven. And it's just terrible. And people don't have air conditioning because we never need it, really. So, all right, now we're back on B deck where we started, but we're going to keep going up. We're going to the, see, it's getting all slow. And what is going on? We're heading to the, what's it called? The bridge. I get frustrated with myself because sometimes I can't think of the words I want to say. Alright, this is kind of an interesting spot to look at, so I'll just kind of... Yeah, it is, the frame rate has like dropped to like 3 frames per second here. It's really crazy. I didn't have this problem yesterday. That's the weird thing. It's like, I didn't have this problem yesterday. So I have no idea what's going on, but... Yeah, I mean, if I had had this problem yesterday, then I would have thought, okay, maybe I need to delete the game and re-download it or something. But no, it was fine yesterday. This tells me that there's something wrong with the computer today. Yeah, so as for when I'll do my next tea time live streams, I honestly don't know, because the hot weather is just, it's not good to have tea during hot weather. It's just, you know, and I don't drink iced tea, so I just don't like iced tea. All right, so if we continue through this hallway, we'll get to the bridge. I didn't mean to click. There we go. Yeah, I see what the game is doing. As I change perspectives, it will load things in and out to help with issues of buffering or whatever they call it. I don't know the technical issues, but the technical words for that. But still, it's weird that this game is slowing down my computer when it never used to do that in the other versions. The other versions were just as detailed as this. So this is the Marconi wireless room. This is where they sent out, you know, messages through the telegraph. This is where the 2 telegraph operators, the Marconi operators, had slept. And then over here is the back room. They have sand, which I believe I heard from somewhere is for fires in this room, like if a battery burst or something, which was possible back then. It's possible today. Batteries still blow up. Is that new? I don't remember this switchboard thing being here, this breaker panel. That looks new. I mean, there was one here before, but it didn't look this detailed. At least I don't think. I mean, maybe I'm just going crazy. All right, back towards the bridge. And so if we go over here, we will get to the wheelhouse of the bridge. So this is the wheelhouse. It is a space that can be enclosed, and they used this wheelhouse when they were out at sea. And then when they came closer to shore, they used this area. I'm guessing because they could actually see out the windows much better. So we can go over this way. Yeah, see, I'm really surprised that this outside area is not slowing down my computer. You'd think it would. It's actually kind of cool to see the funnels and all the smoke coming out. I could probably like leave the camera like this forever and just be amazed, you know. And the realistic sunlight that they have in this game is it adds so much. I remember when the game didn't have realistic sunlight, and it still looked good, but the realistic sunlight adds a whole new dimension to this. So yeah, so once again, for people who are just kind of tuned in, this is my first time seeing the latest version of this demo. So I'm actually kind of excited. I don't know what's changed, if anything's changed. I mean, I know that some bugs have been fixed. I mean, I can actually like go into the first class dining room now. Before I couldn't. It would just crash my computer if I went in there. So this is definitely a step up in that sense. Alright, so we've seen the bridge. I suppose I didn't give you guys a good look at this area here. Wait, are all those lamps down there new? I feel like that whole cabinet down there is new. I don't remember seeing that here before. I remember it just being a white wall all the way to the floor. Interesting. Pretty cool. So, oh, and here's a good map of all the places in this game that you can explore. If I zoom in, and I won't be able to zoom back out and get the same exact perspective again. I'd have to like go into the settings to change it. I can't. Oh, I can get closer. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so everything that is like a dark, rich pink is all the stuff that you can walk around, and stuff that is a light pink is stuff that you can see from a certain vantage point, and then everything that is white is stuff that you cannot go in and see. But you can tell that there are a lot of places on the ship that you can go. I'm trying to see if there's anything I noticed that is new that wasn't there before. I mean, just glancing at the map, I don't see anything that wasn't available in the previous version. But then again, I don't exactly have perfect memory. Alright, so somebody wanted to see the second class dining room, so we will go there next. Trying to remember how to get there from here. It's been a while since I even played the last version of this game, so I'm trying to remember how to get there, so I can do it though. These are the motors for the lifts. They look slightly different. Okay, so I think we have to go out. Yeah. Out to the boat deck. So you'll notice certain areas of the ship we have to load into. Thankfully, it's not too many. You can load into first, second, and third class separately. And then within those classes, you can load into outdoor spaces separately. So that helps it so the game runs a lot smoother. But at the same time, it's not like you have to load into every single room. You can just load into whole sections of the ship. So that makes it a lot more pleasant. Evan says, do you have sunset mode? I think you meant sunset mode. Sunset mode. No, this game does not have sunset mode right now. It's just a demo. They had a previous version of the demo that did have a sunset mode, but then there were other problems with that demo too, so it just didn't, you know, all in all wasn't very pleasant, but okay. There is the stern of the ship. I like what they did with the sky and the ocean. I mean, the ocean looked good before, but it looks even better now. And the sky looks fantastic. Pretty good. I know they were having issues with the sky because they used to have clouds that moved and stuff, but it slowed down the game, I guess. But the way that they did the clouds now, it still looks three-dimensional. Looks great. So we'll go down to the second class dining room. I don't know why I couldn't figure out what I was trying to say. I must be really sleepy. You know what it is? I had a cup of coffee ready to go and I never drank it. Usually I have my coffee in the mornings, but this morning was just kind of busy. So we're in the second class section, in case you don't know. This is the second class smoking room. I like to go over here to the corner because it's just easier to see more of the room. And there's actually kind of a smoky haze in this room. I don't know if it shows up on the live stream very well, but there is kind of a smoky haze in the room because it's the smoking room. But yeah, it looks amazing. I like this room. I always think it looks so nice. And you can wander around, you know. There's a spittoon down there. And we'll continue down to the next level. The next level down has the second class library, which is really more of a multi-purpose room. You know, I like this room too. It's got a nice, like, you know, it's got a nice atmosphere to it. You know what? They did something to the paneling in this room. It's ever so slightly different than it was last time. I can't quite put my finger on it, but they did something. Maybe the dado on the bottom is darker. No, they did something to the paneling in this room. It's different than it was last time. That's interesting. I like it, though. And then this is the lift. Pretty cool. There's only so much I can take of the Can dance song. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I can. It's in my headphones. I'm thinking maybe I should just turn off the music. So this is the second class dining room or dining saloon. You know, I heard somewhere that you call it a dining saloon when all the chairs are lined up like this, and it's, you know, you're sharing. Each table has a large number of seating, large number of people seated at it. And then it's called a dining room when you've got smaller tables and it's the arrangement is different. But these are basically just a simple arrangement of rows with you know, tables normally about, you know, seating 8 to 10 people. So oh, Loma says it's irritating, but okay. I'm guessing that's for the music. I wonder if the lift... Oh, no, the lift... Oh, well, yes. When they complete the final game, the final version of the game, the lifts will work, so you'll be able to, like, take them from one level to another. Certain things around the ship will work, so... I can't say exactly what, but there are certain things around the ship that'll work, and you can make them operate. You know, I think maybe like 1 or 2 cranes or something. You can move them around, that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's my understanding of it, at least. I am yawning now. I must be really groggy. I feel groggy. I don't feel fully awake. I don't know what it is. No, you know what? I know what it is. I don't get enough sleep. It's been... The weather has been so warm lately that I can't sleep at my normal time because it's boiling hot in my room. This is weird. It's like I'm looking into a 2-dimensional world. Yeah, so it's been so warm that I actually just can't stay asleep. I just wake up in the middle of the night. And, yeah, that's why I needed my coffee today. I also didn't get to have my lunch either because I ordered something off of Grubhub. And even though I have directions listed on my account, and you know, and my number is on my account so the driver can call me or text me at least, he got lost. He didn't answer my texts, and he never ended up delivering my food to my apartment. He delivered it to some other apartment complex down the street. And I was like, great, well, I can get my refund, but I can't reorder my food because I have to start the live stream now. So yeah, so I was like, well, that's a bummer. But I think it's kind of what I'm noticing is becoming typical of the younger generations, people who, I don't know, they're just not, they don't want to call, they don't want to, you know, I think they just kind of want to settle for the status quo. It's like, oh, they're lost, oh, then they're lost. Oh well, your food doesn't get delivered. You know, they don't want to like correct the situation. They just accept it for what it is and then deliver it to the wrong house, and you know, that's one of the reasons why I never really fit in when I had all these different jobs when I was younger. It's because I always tried to find a solution to a problem, but people around me, they didn't like that. They used to just be like, just forget it, just leave it alone, and you know, if the job isn't done, the job isn't done. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, our job is to make sure the job is done. But that's precisely why people didn't like me. It's because I didn't think the way that they did. I was like, no, I'm hired to do this job. I'm going to make sure the job is done. You know? Loma says, huge congratulations to the developers who worked tirelessly on this for many years. Yes, definitely. It's amazing, you know, what they have built. I mean, I look at this and I could never do this. I could never do this. And you know, it took them many years to do this, all volunteer work, all volunteer hours, you know. They sold merchandise and things over the years to try to help pay for upgrades to their computers and pay for the softwares that they use and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, you know, the majority of the crew are working completely for free to do this. So, you know, it's amazing what they've accomplished. What deck am I on? I must be on B deck. Pretty sure. Just, you know, judging by my surroundings. So this is one of those cool areas I talk about occasionally when I do this, when I go on this game. This is an indoor promenade for second class, and it wraps around, you know, the second class, I think that's the smoking room through there. So it wraps around the second class smoking room. Unless that's the library, I can't tell which one. And the RMS Queen Mary had this. It doesn't exist the same way anymore, but the Queen Mary did have this. And it was on main deck. So it was a promenade that surrounded what is, you know, today the Britannia Salon, which back in the day was known as the second class main lounge. And so there was a, you know, a promenade with teak decks that surrounded it. And now today they've enclosed it so it looks like it's just part of the rest of the hotel. There were doors just like this that led into the first class corridors. And today you would never know that there was a hallway like this that led to the other side of the ship, because it's been turned into like a janitor's closet, essentially. Housekeeping closet. All right, let's make our way to third class. Awesome Aubrey says, I wonder if you can go into any of the cabins. You can. There are certain cabins you can go into. If the door is open, then you can go into them. And I'll show you a few, if I can. First, let's go up to the very stern of the ship. Yeah, the graphics are really beautiful. Yeah, Tom Linsky is trying to do this with Lusitania, and I hope they eventually finish it, because I would like to see that. I am particularly a Cunard ship fan, so okay, I'm not, like, to clarify, I'm not that much of an ocean liner fanatic. I know a lot about them because of my research on the RMS Queen Mary. I'm a Queen Mary fanatic. But when it comes to, you know, what company, what ocean line company I would pick as my favorite, it wouldn't be White Star Line, it would be Cunard. I tend to like the Cunard ships more. So Lusitania is definitely right up my alley. Like, I probably like more, I do. I like Mauritania more than I like Titanic. I know that'll surprise a lot of people, because Like, you know, there were people that got really angry at me once. They were like, oh, how can you say that when Titanic is what got you interested in ships? And I told them, I'm like, Titanic did not get me interested in ships. What got me interested in ships was the Queen Mary. Yes, I've heard about Titanic before the Queen Mary, but, well, actually, is that even true? Because the first time I ever heard of Titanic was when the movie came out in 1997. And I've actually been to the Queen Mary before that. So technically, I've been to the... technically, I knew about the Queen Mary before I knew about the Titanic. But I learned about the Titanic story before I learned about the Queen Mary story. But nevertheless, it was the Queen Mary that got me interested in ships, not Titanic. So this should be the third class lounge. It's got a piano for playing tunes and things. And lots of seating to just relax. And white paneling on the walls. And then there is a nearly identical room on the other side, structurally speaking. And that room has a, you know, more natural paneling. And it's the smoking room. It's a third class smoking room. Men only. Oh, they still have it. The cigar with the smoke. Loma says, I have the same work ethic and the same problem with people. I know, you know. When I used to work for companies and stuff, I was one of the hardest working people. You know, and I don't say that, you know, to toot my own horn, but it's just, it was very... If you worked with me, you would have seen it was glaringly obvious. I always had things to do. I was always keeping busy, always doing my work. And, but the people I worked with, they would just literally stand around doing nothing because they could see that me and, you know, another person would be working really hard. So I'd be like, why do I have to work hard then? You know? And I never brought it up much to people because I was just like, you know, it doesn't help anybody for me to just be like, hey, get back to work, you know. I'll leave that to my bosses. But nevertheless, that's something I didn't like, you know, that there were people who just really didn't care. And that's kind of the sentiment a lot today too. People are just like, well, why should I care about a job? It doesn't care about me. And it's like, well, you know, that's unfortunately, that is true. Most jobs really don't care about you. But you were hired to perform a certain duty to a certain degree, you know, and it's just, you know, it's basic integrity to uphold that. If the company doesn't appreciate you, that's on them. But you know, gotta be professional. So that is pretty cool. So here's one of the cargo hatches, and it's designed so they can overlay a temporary deck on each level, so that way they can create more space for cargo to sit. So if they wanted, they could fill this whole space in with cargo, and they would do that at every level. It was a very efficient way of doing things. There is a third class cabin here that we can walk in, and I'm looking for it right now. I think it's on the other side. Oh wait, it can't be on the other side. I'll find it, you guys. I'll find the third. I'm pretty sure it was back here. Unless I'm thinking of the wrong area. I am thinking of the wrong area. I think it was over here. Yeah, it was over here. There we go. So here is one of the third-class cabins. It's really a closet space, to be honest. One says, did you know that interior fittings from the Aquitania are still in existence in a hotel in the UK? No, but it doesn't surprise me because those ships, those favorite ships, they were often, their interiors were often removed just prior to, or during the scrapping process, I should say. And many companies and, you know, private businesses, they would buy up some of those interior fittings to put in their buildings because, well, first of all, the fittings come from a famous ship, but second of all, you know, it was cheaper to buy that kind of stuff than to have it made custom for your business. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It was very common to do that back then, but it's nice to know that the Aquitania's fittings still exist. Yeah, and Olympics exists in the White Swan Hotel. I don't think there is a second-class cabin that we could go into. But we're down here by the engine rooms anyway, so might as well go see the engine rooms. So this is the aft engine room. This is what had the single steam turbine. It's a windy day today. Not a cool day, though, but windy. I still have a bucket here to prevent me from going all the way down. It's unfortunate. So, believe it or not, we are looking at the central steam turbine below us. It's just that it's all enclosed, so you'd never know you were looking at it. But yeah, that's the central steam turbine, the center of the screen. And then on the left and right of it are the condensers, which condense the steam back into water to be reused and sent to the boilers. Man, I need coffee. We can't go too far up. There's a sledgehammer in the way, but we can see the emergency dynamos of the ship. So, if the ship's power plant lost power for some reason, there were 3 dynamos lined up. There's a wall in front of me, so we can't really... Well, it's not a wall, but like a ventilation shaft in front of me, so we can't see the third one, but there would have been 3 lined up here. And they were basically 2 steam cylinder engines turning a dynamo, which generated a small amount of electricity to at least keep the lights on the ship. And now this is the main engine room. This is the one that has the giant reciprocating engines. And they have a chain here, so we can't go too far forward. And you can see the reciprocating engines down there turning. Now, these are the cylinder heads. The large ones are the cylinders. So, if you know anything about Titanic's, each of their engines is a 4-cylinder engine. So the large round cap on that side towards the wall there, the bulkhead, that is one of the cylinders. This is another one of the cylinders here. And then here's the third. And then here is the fourth. And so, yeah, there are other smaller cylinders that are meant for the eccentric rods. So that would be like these two here, for instance. But yeah, we can go down and see more of the reciprocating engines at work. I actually like going down here because, I don't know, you know, the reciprocating engines look really good, especially the animation. There's only so many places in this engine room that we can actually walk, but thankfully we can go up this catwalk here. I like this view, seeing the reciprocating engines moving and the eccentric rods as well. Awesome Aubrey says, is it possible to go where the car is? Is it? Well, this is the newest version of the demo, which I haven't fully seen yet. So, but according to the last version of the demo, no, you couldn't see where the car is, but you could see the cargo holds on the levels above where the car was. You just couldn't see the car because it was on a lower level. So, I mean, we could try to go there and see. I'll turn the camera around. You can see the flywheel at the end. The flywheel acts as a weight, essentially. It helps to keep the momentum of the engines running, and therefore helps the engine to run more smoothly. Because of the motion of the engine, it without the flywheel, it could feel like the ship is shuddering, you know, with the engines going. It could feel like a shudder, kind of like the same way when you're in a car. Well, an older car. Cars today aren't like that, but if you're in an older car, like from the 1990s or before that, and you have the engine on, the car would kind of, like, you could feel a significant vibration. It's not like a modern car today where the vibration might be very light and feel like a soft buzzing. But back then, the car would actually kind of shake a bit. And that's how it would feel without the flywheel. Kind of. It is a massive ship. But the flywheel, it does help to keep the movement of the cylinders more smoothly, because it's a massive heavy weight at the end. And somebody, last time I said this, was like, oh, well, that's what the propellers are for. But no, the propellers are up against the water. The propellers are the resistance, not the momentum. So without the flywheel, you would still feel the shuddering of the engines, and you would hear it too, the shuddering of the engines. But then the propeller would not really help at all because the propeller is constantly under the resistance of the water. So, I mean, yeah, there is some momentum to allow the propeller to spin, maybe 3 or 4 revolutions without any power to it. But the flywheel would go much longer without being connected to the propeller shaft. Yeah. Yeah, it is a bummer that there's no sound in here. Just keep in mind that this is only a demo. This is not meant to be the finalized game. But we can go over here, for instance. Oh, I like going. There we go. We can kind of see everything working here from this angle. Yeah, I could watch this for a long time. Yeah, I was on the SS Jeremiah O'Brien, which is the Liberty ship which James Cameron filmed for the engine room scenes of the movie Titanic. So when you see the movie and you see the engines rotating like this, that's literally the engines from the SS Jeremiah O'Brien. And when I went there, those engines are only a third the size of Titanic's, but they were still pretty big, and I had never seen anything like it with my own eyes. So it was actually pretty cool to watch how it all worked and stuff like that. It was really neat. All right, let's move on from the engine room and maybe we'll go see the boiler rooms. I could really use some coffee. Oh, it's all like literally that's all I'm thinking about right now. Even though I'm talking about the ship, all I'm like thinking about is coffee. My brain keeps going coffee, coffee. That's when you know you have an addiction. So all this time we've been walking down this hallway. We've been on Scotland Road, which is the nickname for the working alley that they have here. On Titanic, uh, third class could use the working alley as a place to to kind of get from one part of the ship to the other. For instance, down here is the third class dining room. Sorry, I keep yawning, but I can't help it. I wish I could. I wish I could stop myself from yawning. But yeah, this is the third class dining room, and so a lot of spaces were easily accessible to the third class passengers via the uh, Scotland Road. I had to think about it for a minute there. Um, no, I don't know the name of the research ship in the movie Titanic. Let's go back up. This room is actually two-sided, so it's divided by a watertight bulkhead. So there's actually two sides to this dining room. So it's actually pretty big when you count the fact that it's double what you see here. See, and there's another side on this side as well. Ta-da! But that's one of the things like when I tell people, "Oh, I like Mauritania more than Titanic," they're like, "What? What? How is that? What?" And I have to tell them, I'm like, "Well, look at spaces like this. This looks like a prison cafeteria from the 1900s. It does not look like a dining room for passengers. It looks like a prison cafeteria." But if you look at images of Mauritania, I mean, they're kind of rare, but there's a colorized, like a painted image of Mauritania's third class dining room, and it did have low ceilings, but the ceilings were covered. There was like wood paneling and stuff on the top, painted white, and then there was a kind of like a wood dado that went up to eye level, so right about right here on the wall, and it was all wood paneling all the way around. It was a decorated dining room. The pillars had pilaster reliefs on them, so they actually looked kind of nice. They weren't just a straight up steel pole that was, you know, uh, riveted to, to the steel beams above. It was a decorated room. But you look at like Titanic and Olympics third class dining room, it's just not. It just looks like a prison cafeteria, honestly. So that's why when I tell people, I'm like, oh, Mauritania is really, I like Mauritania more than Titanic. They can't believe it, but that's why. It's, Mauritania just, Titanic, I have another saying, one of my little sayings that I have. Titanic is beautiful where it's at. Like if you're in a beautiful part of Titanic, it's a beautiful part of Titanic. But if you take 5 steps, to the right, you're in an undecorated part of the ship. And it's just, it's I'll show you more examples of that later, but yeah, so yeah, where the beauty is at, it's beautiful. But with Mauritania and Lusitania, there was a lot more decoration spread further out, especially with Aquitania. Aquitania definitely was fully decorated. They didn't have too many spaces that were left undecorated for passengers. So that's the reason why is I appreciate that kind of thing. Here's one of the stewards' dorms, I guess you would call it the dormitory for the stewards. They all slept here. Before we go to the boiler rooms, why don't I show you one of the first class cabins and give you an example of, when I say, oh, take 5 steps to the right and you're in an undecorated room, I'll show you an example of that. So let me just find, I think, is this the door? No. Sorry, I'm hearing noises like as if there's like someone in my apartment, but I don't. Weird. Okay. So, right, I was going to show you a cabin. So here is a good example. This is going to be the Strauss Suite. Is that new? I don't remember there being a sign here before. That's pretty cool. So the Strauss Suite is, arguably the most beautiful cabin on the entire ship. I think it is. I'll just let it sit here for a second so you guys can admire it. Um, it was an The Strauss Suite was an inspiration for one of the cabins that Rose's family was staying in the movie. They did a combination of of the Strauss Suite and then another, I don't remember the name, but another suite down on B deck, I think it was. And then they just took those two ideas, those two suites, and kind of combined them into one giant suite for Rose's cabin in the movie. But nevertheless, they were recreated, you know, to the best of the historian's knowledge. You know, I don't know if there's anything that deviates from it too much, except for maybe the size of the cabin. I think, you know, this for instance, this particular room that we're in served as the inspiration for the room where Jack was drawing Rose. But in the movie, the room looked a lot bigger than this, and so I think that even though they recreated it quite well, I think that it was purposefully designed to be larger. But I could be wrong. So here is the sleeping quarters of this suite. And they call this the Strauss Suite because this is where Isidore and Ida Strauss, the owners of Macy's at the time, um, were staying. And I believe Isidore and Ida both died on the Titanic. They were represented in the movie as the old couple who were laying together in bed while the water was rushing in beneath them. So that is Isidore and Ida Strauss. So yeah, here is. Okay, now that looks more detailed. This is one of the light control buttons and paneling buttons. That looks a lot more detailed than it used to be. All right, so this is what I'm talking about when I say, you know, the ship is beautiful where it's at. You know, you got this beautifully ornate bedroom, nice and bright. You know, you got the gold leaf and everything, just beautiful. Then you take a couple steps to the right, and it's industrial looking. It's there's little to no decoration at all. I mean, at least it's painted white so it feels clean, you know, but it's just industrial looking. There's no decoration. I think the best you got is this thing, the sink with the mirror. I mean, it's nice marble and, you know, it's carved and looks nice, but, you know, then you look at the bathtub and it looks like, you know, looks like you're going to take off into the sky in some kind of Jules Verne adventure. It's just like, you know, it's weird. It's weird. And you can see all the exposed steel and the rivets and everything. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say, like, Titanic is beautiful where it's at, but you take 5 steps to the right and next thing you know, you're in this undecorated area. And it wasn't like that, at least too much. I mean, I'm sure someone's probably got examples, but at least it wasn't too much like that on ships like Mauritania, Lusitania, Aquitania. You know, even the Queen Mary, uh, everywhere you go is completely decorated. So, yeah. But I also think that some Titanic fans, I'm not saying all, but some Titanic fans look at Titanic, I think, in an unfair light. They go, oh, it's the greatest ship of all time. And when I try to ask them exactly what makes it the greatest, what did it do that it accomplished? And they can't go, oh, well, it was the greatest ship, you know, in the day. And it's like, was it though? You know, when you really look at it, when you do the research, because I have done some research into like whether the ship really was the greatest ship built in 1912. It was very luxurious, yes, but it certainly wasn't the fastest. Back then, the most famous ships were the fastest ships in the world. That's why Mauritania had a bigger name than Titanic until Titanic actually sank. Um, you know, you look at what Titanic accomplished, it didn't possess technology that didn't already exist on other ships. It didn't you know, it didn't offer a luxury that no other ship could offer. There were other ships that could offer that same level of luxury. You know, so it's just I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to put Titanic down. It's just that I think I'm just trying to make the point that I think that some Titanic fans think of Titanic in an unfair light. They put it up on this pedestal like it's this thing that could never be beat. It's the greatest of all time and nothing else compares to it. And it's like there were a lot of ships back then that could definitely hold a candle to Titanic. What made Titanic so famous was the fact that it sank, you know, and that there were so many well-known, rich and famous people at the time who were aboard the ship as it was sinking. Some of them survived, some of them didn't. But yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, even before Titanic sank, Olympic was more famous than Titanic. Olympic was the one that had, you know, all the accolades. It was like, oh, there was the first of a new line of ships. It was, you know, it was the flagship before Titanic came along, you know. So Titanic really wasn't that special before it sank. And after it sank, you know, it sparked this new interest. And especially after the James Cameron movie, that's when the popularity of Titanic especially exploded, you know. Here's a linen closet. Um because the movie made people think of the ship more romantically. Whereas before, if you were a Titanic fan, it was really because you're like, oh, that's great architecture, it's great design, you know, great engineering, you know, the stories that, you know, you can read were sad and stuff like that. But it was the movie Titanic, I think, that made people romanticize it, fall in love with it, see it as this beautiful story, this beautiful tale. And I think that's where that special type of obsession comes in. Um, so this room and the connecting room are part of the Maids and Valets saloon. So I believe this room itself was for Marconi operators and other third party company employees. So, you know, like Marconi, for instance, the operators were employed by the Marconi company, not by White Star Line. And so there were other crew aboard the ship that also did not work for did not work for White Star Line. And so all of them would sit here, and I think it amounted to only 8 people, honestly, which is why there's only 8 seats. Um, so they would eat in this room, but then the next connecting room was the Maids and Valets saloon. So the first class passengers often traveled with their maids and their valets, or valets, if you want to call them valets. Um, and the maids and valets would eat here. This was their room to eat and relax, and you know, they had time off from their employers. So that's where they were. And this is the little galley that services this saloon. You can see they got all these um oh, what do they call these things? They're like not thermoses. There's a name for them, but you know, yeah. Anyway, they dispense hot water for tea, possibly tea itself. No, if it dispensed tea itself, then there'd be an opening at the top to do that. But yeah, it dispensed hot water. I'm just noticing that there is a tap on this cabinet. What was this? There's no opening for that. There's like no handle for the cabinet or anything. So there was definitely something in there. What did it do? That's weird. All right, so here's where they store some of the plates. Ron says Titanic was more luxurious than Olympic at the time of her maiden voyage. But when you say luxurious, what do you mean? Because some people they use that word very loosely. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying I'm trying to understand what you mean because there are some people when they say, "Oh, this ship is more luxurious than this ship." What they're saying is that there's better decoration. That in their opinion, the decoration is better. When some people say luxurious, they mean the service. The service is better. The service you get, when you have the stewards and everything, you know, they're attending to your every need, and they do it much better than another ship. And some people just say luxurious because it costs more. So they'd be like, oh, everything was more expensive, more, you know, there was a lot more prestige to it. So people use that word very loosely. And I've heard people say things okay, I'll give you a good example. When I talk about the Queen Mary, there are people that tell me, like, oh, the Titanic was more luxurious than the Queen Mary. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean because, you know, Ti Queen Mary is definitely or was definitely more luxurious than Titanic by far, by far. Um, I mean, down to every last detail, Queen Mary was far more luxurious than Titanic. Um, but Titanic has a certain look to it. It's very Edwardian looking. There's lots of hand carving and frills and details everywhere. And so when people tell me that Titanic is more luxurious than Queen Mary, what they really mean is that Titanic has, a style that they favor more. So, yeah. But that was just an example because I've had that said to me a lot. And I'm like, no, Queen Mary was more luxurious, but um Ron says she had more luxury suites. She had more luxury suites. Oh, okay. So there were like more suites that on the ship. Okay. Yeah, cuz Titanic has only a limited amount of suites that were actually super luxurious. So I can imagine. They removed the B deck promenade and expanded the first class staterooms. Oh, I see. Okay. Now, if we descend down these stairs here, we can see the padded room. And then the rest of this is the hospital, but none of the doors open. At least they didn't last time, so. Yeah, they still don't. None of them are open. Just the padded room. What were we going to do next? I forget. Anyway, this is the first class doctor's office slash cabin because he would sleep here. But out front was where he assisted passengers with whatever they needed. So this was like they could get a checkup and stuff. And if they needed, something that he couldn't offer in the office, he would send them to the hospital, which is downstairs. Awesome. Aubrey says, do you know what the padded room would have been used for? Yeah, so the padded room would have been used for all kinds of things. Passengers that were in some way, for any reason, dangerous or difficult to be around. So if there was a particularly dangerous passenger, they would probably be put in that padded room. I don't know of any instances where somebody was put in the padded room, but nevertheless, it was there for that reason. And I don't know if the Olympic class ships were the only ones to have a padded room, but I do know that the Queen Mary, for instance, if they had a passenger that was dangerous, um, they could lock them in the isolation ward, which was a hospital for the ship, uh, designed for infectious diseases and things. It was designed to keep infectious diseases separate from the rest of the passengers and crew. So they could actually lock them in the isolation ward and they couldn't get out. So if they had a dangerous passenger, that's what they could do with it. But yeah, that's what the padded room on Titanic was for. But yeah, just basically for any reason, it could be for somebody who just, it wasn't safe to have them around. Mr. Golden V says Cunard should have called one of their liners Titania. Now, I think Titanic and the word Titan just became synonymous with tragedy on the ship. So, you know, they wouldn't have done it. Even today, there are really no ships named Titanic or you know, Titan or anything like that. I mean, they had a submersible named Titan, and you know, look what happened to that. So yeah, it is a name of bad luck. It's considered, you know. Um, I mean, once you know, I hate to point out the irony, but yeah, you know, the submersible, you know, was given that name, and then that happened, and I was just kind of like, you know, there's a reason why, you know, sailors and stuff that, or not sailors, but you know, it's in maritime tradition. You know, there are certain things that are considered bad luck, and it's bad luck to name something Titanic or Titan. This is my favorite restaurant aboard the ship, aboard Titanic, um, because it's so nice looking. I mean, it's just the decoration is just out of this world. It is beautiful, and especially like the ceiling panels and all that. It's just amazing. Plus, I'm a big fan of purple, so it's nice to see purple used. I can't stop yawning. I'm so sleepy. So, some people are surprised to know that Titanic actually had two main staircases. This is the smaller one of the two. You know the difference because, you know, this one has a round ceiling, whereas the other one is kind of oval. Um, but yeah, the other thing too is that this only goes down from A deck to C deck, but the other staircase goes down to E deck. Yeah. Actually, this one is this A deck? Yeah, it is. Okay, it is A deck, but am I tripping? No, yeah. So this is the promenade. trying to like look out. Yeah, that's the promenade out there. So the other staircase is taller as well because it goes up one more level to the boat deck. So this one only goes as high as the promenade. So it's only 3 levels tall, but yeah, the other staircase has like 5 or 6 levels to it. Ron says, I missed the long gallery on the Queen Mary. Yeah, I wish I could see it. I haven't lived long enough to have seen it with my own eyes, but I do wish that it would come back. I did email the the general manager of the Queen Mary to suggest that, the long gallery be brought back. I know that they listened to my suggestions because they've been implementing my suggestions. And the general manager, he's told me, he's like, I like your ideas. He's like, you got really great ideas. So I know they implement my ideas at the ship, and so I'm hoping that you know he'll bring back the long gallery. He's a very the general manager. He's very passionate about the Queen Mary's history and design, and so I think he's finally we have a trustworthy person who's looking out for the Queen Mary. Man, this room is more beautiful than it was in the previous version of this game. And I think it's because in the previous version, the sunlight would stream in through these windows and it would shine on this wooden bulkhead, this wood panel bulkhead. And the glare of the sunshine would be so bright you couldn't see any of the details. You couldn't even see the three stained glass motifs in the center because the sunlight was so bright. So I think now that you can actually see it, it just makes the room really pop. So back here is a galley for serving the smoking room and as well as the palm court, both palm courts. So there's the port side palm court, which is technically called the veranda, and then you got the starboard side palm court. Now this one, because they are identical, the palm courts, but this one I heard was used sometime, or was intended to be used sometimes as a sort of nursery for the children aboard the ship, because there was no playroom for the children. There, unlike the Queen Mary, which had 3 playrooms for the 3 different classes, Titanic didn't have any. So this room would be used as a playroom. It'd be used as a nursery for the children aboard the ship, if it wasn't already in use for something else. But the other palm court, which we can see if we... Well, actually, it's actually faster if I just go through the smoking room. The frame rate is so low that it's kind of hard to... There we go. So this is the other palm court, which is called the veranda, and it is a little cafe, here on the ship. It's very nice looking. Yeah, I like it. Reminds me of Cafe Parisien, which is the cafe we saw just moments ago, down on, I want to say B deck. We'll go out onto the promenade and we'll kind of run around the promenade. Ron says Britannic had a children's playroom. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. All right. So we're out on the promenade of Titanic. The sunlight looks so realistic. Unbelievable. And we can kind of... We'll go fast around the promenade. You can see all the deck chairs lined up. It's starting to get hotter in my apartment. We're getting to that time of day where it's getting to be like 90 degrees outside. So I'll have to end the live stream soon so I can turn on the air conditioner. So you can see we go around the front of the superstructure. Something else that's new that I'm noticing right now is we have these numbers, I'm guessing, to correspond with the seats. Because you would have to rent these out. You couldn't just like sit down and relax. You had to like reserve them from a cabin steward. It was the same thing on Queen Mary as well. You had to reserve the deck chairs. So I think all these have a number to associate with them. But the weird thing is that up on the ceiling, the numbers are all 13. Weird. Oh, you know what we didn't see was the main lounge. We'll do that next. We'll go back into the smoking room and then go to the main lounge from there. Awesome. Ombre says, I'm guessing you sadly still can't go on the bow of the ship. No, you can't. You can go to the, what do you call it? To the crew areas on the deck below the bow. But you can't actually walk on the bow. What was I going to say? Oh, so I'm working on a Queen Mary repair update. So for those of you that know, on my channel, I do repair updates of the Queen Mary, and I talk about what's happening on the ship and what's been repaired, what's been fixed. And I'm working on the next one now. It probably won't be available till next week because, I have to send, my friend over to the Queen Mary to do filming. So, to film all the new stuff that's been happening. But it's on its way, is what I'm trying to say. Oh, wow. I can definitely tell this looks different. Wow. That is unbelievable. Let me get, there's a spot in this room that if I go into the corner over here and I look back, you can see the whole room and it looks really beautiful. So let me go over here. There we go. Yeah, that is incredibly beautiful. It definitely looks better than it did in the last version. And the last version wasn't too different. In the last version, they introduced this upholstery pattern on all the furniture. And at the time, I was like, oh, I liked the previous version of the upholstery. But that was only because the light shined on this upholstery really weird. And it made the upholstery look really strange. But this looks nice. The realistic light really adds to the realism of the space. Anything that looks computer generated looks different in this natural light. it looks amazing. Let me... So there's the chandelier. And if you remember the movie at all, Titanic by James Cameron, you definitely got to see the chandelier in the scene with the woman floating in the water in the nightie. No problem, Loma. Is it Loma or is it Lorna? Am I misreading that? Lorna. Yeah, it looked like an M from like way over here. It's RN. So Lorna. There we go. Sorry about that. I have an issue with vision in this eye. It's not something that can be fixed with glasses, so that's why I don't wear glasses. But yeah, let's see. Fluffy says it's so eerie seeing all those chairs with no one around. It is kind of, huh? But then again, at the same time, I like walking around places where there's nobody because I feel like I get all of it to myself. So I'm actually pretty used to walking around places that normally are crowded, but you know, for that particular moment is empty. Here's one of the private rooms, I guess you would call it, an enclave of the room. Lorna says, is it moving? Is the ship, is it sailing? Is that what you're asking? It's not sailing. In this demo, the ship is really just kind of... Oh, see, I knew I was messing with the perspective on my camera. Does that help, or does that make it look weird? I don't know. Yeah, so in this demo, the ship is just kind of sitting in the Atlantic. It's not really moving, but there is smoke billowing from the funnels, as you saw earlier. So the engines are on and everything is running. This is the reading and writing room on the ship. I like the ceilings with all these lights. In a previous version of this demo, they had a sunset version or a nighttime version or something like that. And the benefit of changing from a daytime to a nighttime was more than just what was going on outside. It was also that a lot of the lights, which normally would not be on during the daytime, would turn on for nighttime. And so, you know, this is one of those rooms that looked really magical at night, especially with the fire going and all that. So yeah, it was really nice. The finalized game will have a full day, time shift. So the light will change throughout the day as the sun moves in the sky. So it'll look really interesting. It will also have full weather. So, you could change it to be stormy seas or whatever. I don't know that the ship will roll in those seas, but you can make it so it's stormy outside or whatnot. But that's for the finalized game. Otherwise, in this demo, you're basically just stuck with a daytime version. Not clear skies, but partly cloudy skies. And now, here's a cool spot. So this is the larger of the two main staircases. This is the one that I said, is like 6 different levels. But it's also got an oval ceiling because it's just like larger. The room itself was made larger than the other one. Oh, Lorna, the chandelier moving. Okay, that's what Lorna meant. So, yeah, no, it was just the reflections of all the crystal. When you look at some of the chandeliers, it looks like they're moving. So I'll show you one. This is There we go. So if we stare at this chandelier long enough, it'll kind of look like it's vibrating, but that's just the glittering effects. I actually don't even really know what it's called, but there's like this grainy, glittery effect that they have on anything that's shiny on in this game, and that's what kind of gives it that look. But when you look at it from a distance, let me zoom out a bit. Um, but when you look at it from a distance, it can look like they're kind of, shaking or whatever. Yeah. So I'm gonna end the stream here, folks, because we've been on for an hour and 42 minutes. But yeah, so expect in the coming week or so a full Queen Mary repair update. Everything that has to do with all the stuff that's happening on the ship, including things that have been refurbished and stuff. And then I will be working on a video about the history of the Disneyland Mark Twain riverboat, which is a real stern-wheeled, steam-powered riverboat. For those that don't know, some people think it's fake, so they're like, "Oh, I don't care about it," but it is a real steamboat. So it'll be an interesting video. So I'll be working on that. Yeah. And oh, and there is kind of an update, just a quick one for people who just want to know. I have the full amount of money I need saved up for going to my New Orleans trip, so that way I can film a lot of content for the channel. So I'm in the planning process right now of booking everything and making everything finalized. I unfortunately cannot tell you guys when exactly I am going because there's a lot of people that want me dead. So I literally cannot tell people because it's for my own safety and for the safety of the people who are going with me. But yeah, I'll be going to New Orleans to be filming a lot of content for the channel. Everything from vlogs to reviews to history videos to walkthroughs, that kind of stuff. Just anything that can be filmed will be filmed and used for the channel. So, and then, the popularity of those videos will help boost my efforts to save up for the UK trip aboard the Queen Mary 2, which is the one I really want to do. Because, that one's been kind of like a lifelong ambition. So, but yeah, was there anything else I wanted to add to that? I don't think so, but, um, there's a lot of people who really hate me. I mean, honestly, literally, there are people who want to hurt me for the fact that Titanic is not my favorite ship, which, there are people who want to kill me because they think that I'm evil or something. I don't know. I can't make sense of some of these people, but yeah, I've gotten a lot of death threats and stuff over the years, and so I've learned to be very cautious and not to tell people where I'm going or when I'll be there. So, but I mean, then again, I did tell you I'm going to New Orleans, but I didn't say when I'm going. But it will be quite a while from now. Um, but yeah, but I'm still in the planning stages of what I'm going to do there and everything that I'm going to film and stuff. Got quite an itinerary, actually. Quite an itinerary. But anyway, folks, yeah, now there's a bunch of people tuning in now, and I'm about to leave the live stream. But anyway, folks, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.